Yep. Hello all. So welcome to this video of integration runtime in Azure Data Factory. So today we will be discussing what is integration runtime, what are the different types of integration runtime, and we will see how to create and set up integration runtime on our own system. Okay. So the previous videos, the basic videos of Azure Data Factory are already covered, and I will share the same link in the description link below. Okay. So in the previous videos, we have covered what is Azure Data Factory, how to create Azure Data Factory, what are the different activities and different components of Azure Data Factory. So starting first, like what is an integration runtime? So in a layman term, integration runtime is an compute environment over which our activities run in Azure Data Factory. Okay. So for example, if we have our system where we basically have some data, okay, and we have ADF. Okay. Now this ADF wants to connect to that system to copy data or to access data. Now this system can be cloud, okay, or it can be on-prem, okay. So it can be any option. So to use, so that ADF can connect to these sources, there needs to be some kind of link between them, okay. So for that we create link service, but this link service needs to run on any kind of system uh, over which all the computation happens. So that system is known as IR or integration runtime, okay. So integration runtime are basically of three types: Azure IR, self-hosted IR, and Azure SSIS IR. Okay. So Azure IR, the first one, this is used when we want to copy or move data from cloud to cloud. Okay. For example, our data is in Azure SQL DB. Okay. And we need to move in ADLS. Okay. So it's a cloud to cloud movement. So it is Azure SQL DB and it is a cloud to cloud movement. So we can use the Azure IR. We don't need to manually create Azure IR. It is already created and available whenever we create Azure Data Factory. Okay. Then we have self-hosted IR. Self-hosted IR comes in play when we want to copy data from our local system. Okay. And when we want to dump it to any cloud resource. Okay. We can also use it when we want to copy data in a private network. Okay. For example, this is my own PC, okay, which is on premise. Obviously, it is not on cloud. And over here, I have few files. Now I want to copy these files and send it to ADLS. Okay. Now, obviously, we are going to use ADF, but how is ADF, which is on cloud, it is going to access my data source, which is my own system. Okay. Here we need something that is known as self-hosted integration runtime. So this self-hosted integration runtime works as a link between my local system and ADF. It is installed on my local system, okay, and that creates a link to the ADF. Okay. Now, whatever link service I will create, that link service will point to the self-hosted integration runtime, and using that, I will be able to access all the files that is present on my on-premise. Okay, so whenever I want to copy data from on-premise or copy data in a private cloud, I can use self-hosted integration runtime. Okay, and Azure SSIS IR, the third one, it stands for Azure SQL Server Integration Service Integration Runtime. Okay, so whenever we want to, so SSIS is basically an on-premise version of ADF. Okay, so earlier we used to have SSIS, which basically helped us to create pipelines and do the orchestration job, but it was completely on-premise. Now, if I want to move that SSIS to my cloud, okay, then I can use the Azure SSIS integration runtime. Okay, for example, if you come across any project where you want to uh, copy or access the SSIS service, okay, from ADF, you need to set up the Azure SSIS integration runtime. Okay. Moving forward, we will be seeing this Azure integration runtime and self-hosted integration runtime. Okay. Coming to the Azure portal, so Azure portal, I have already discussed how to create a free Azure account using your student ID or using your credit card, you can get a 1 month of free credit and you can create a free Azure account. Okay, so using that, currently I'm using one of the student accounts, so I have free access for that, and I don't need to share any credit card for that as well. Okay, so using this, I have created an Azure Data Factory. Okay, and in that Azure Data Factory, I will demonstrate you how we can basically create, or we can access the integration runtime. Okay, so I will move ahead and I will open one of the data factories that I've already created. So yep. So once we open our Azure Data Factory, in the manage section, where we can create a link service. So whenever we create a link service, we need to specify the integration runtime. Okay. For example, I want to create a link service which points to my Azure SQL database. Okay. So I will go and click on new, and I will point to I will search for Azure SQL database. And if you can continue, it will ask me connect via integration runtime. Okay. Now this integration runtime specifies auto resolve integration runtime, which is the Azure integration runtime. Okay. It is default, okay, which is created by Azure itself. So if you want to go and check the properties of it, we will go to the integration runtime section in the manage part. And over here, we can see the auto resolve integration runtime connect. Okay. So yeah, over here we can go on the monitor section of it, and it is a Azure type. You can see, okay, it is currently running, and the activities which it points to, we can get the details in the activities section. We can't do much changes over here, okay, because it is managed directly by Azure. So there are no much option for changes or update over here. Okay. So if we want to go and create any link service, now if I go and search for Azure SQL database, if I want to create Azure SQL database link service, and that I need to select the integration runtime. So I have selected the integration runtime. Okay. And then I will be specifying the other details, like which server I want to connect to and which database I want to connect to. And then I will specify the required authentication type. Test connection. So you see this test connection is successful over here. So what does this mean? This means is my ADF is able to connect to my Azure SQL. Okay. And in this connection, we have been using our Azure integration runtime. Okay. So Azure integration runtime is a medium using which this connection is being created. Okay. And the link service is a point which basically creates a connection point to our main data source. Okay, so our link service is created over the Azure integration runtime, and this Azure integration runtime is basically used to be a connection path between our cloud to cloud, that is ADF to Azure SQL database. Okay, so that's how our Azure integration runtime comes in play. So when we basically create this particular integration runtime, so and it is created successfully. Moving forward to what is, I would say, self-hosted integration runtime. Okay, so for self-hosted integration runtime, we need to install the self-hosted IR software on our own system or any system where we want to host that particular integration runtime. Okay, so we'll go and click on new in the integration runtime, and I will select on Azure or self-hosted. Click on continue, and then select the self-hosted option. Okay, again click on continue. I will give some name. Let's keep it default, and then create. Okay. Now this creates an integration runtime, but now we want to set up the complete integration runtime on our local system. Okay. So for that we have two options: express setup and the manual setup. Okay. So if you're working on a Windows system and you want to completely install it directly, okay, you can click on the Express Setup option. So whenever you click on the Express Setup option, it downloads the complete application file, okay. And once you run the complete application file, it will do the all the job and it will create the integration runtime on your local system. Okay. Now this takes around 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Now once that is created, we can again come back and see how that service integration runtime is linked to our own system. Okay. So the setup has started and it will take around 10 to 15 minutes. So once that is complete, we will again see how this complete self-hosted integration runtime works. Okay. Yeah. So the complete process is completed. Okay. Once we close this, okay, so our self-hosted integration runtime has been set up on our own system. Okay. Now, if it is a Windows system, you can go and search for self-hosted integration runtime on your local system. So if it is a Windows system, you can go on search for the integration runtime application in the start menu. Okay, and over there you will be able to see the integration runtime configuration manager. Okay, so it says the data factory is a Duskel module 5, which matches with the uh, data factory name that I have. Okay, the top. And integration runtime is integration runtime 1, and the node is Abhishek HP, which is my local system. Okay, so this is this particular integration runtime is running on my local system. Okay, and that helps the ADF to connect to my on-premise service system. Okay, so in the integration runtime tab, you can see this integration runtime 1. Okay, it says it is running. Okay, and in the monitor section, we can go and make some edit if required. So currently it is having only one node. So one out of one node is running. So if you work on any system which have multiple nodes, okay, so over there you can work parallelly and run multiple nodes over there. Okay. So if I go on the edit and node section, so in the node section, we can run the concurrent number of jobs. So what are number of jobs that can run concurrently on our local systems? For example, we are having 10 different copy activities running. So concurrently only 6 will run. And then when those complete, then the other 4 remaining will work. Okay, we can increase or decrease this number of jobs based on the memory that we have on our integration runtime hosted. Okay, so let me show you how we can create a link service and connect to the data that is present on our local system. Okay, so let's see how we can access the data present in our local system using the self-hosted integration runtime. Let's go and create a link service which will point to one of the file system, one of the disk present on my local system. So now I will use integration runtime, the IR1, which is a self-hosted integration runtime. And let's give a host name as so for creating a link service which points to our integration runtime or which points to our local file system, we'll go on click new link service, create new link service, search for file system. So in the file system option, I need to specify the link service name. So for example, I specify the name like link service files to one, and I need to connect it using the integration runtime because it is running on my local system. And then comes the host part. So for the host part, I will specify the file where my data is residing on my local system. So I will paste that particular folder name. My data is residing in this particular host. Then you need to specify the username and password using which you connect to your local system or sign into your local system. So I use my Microsoft user ID and password, so I will use the same. And once that is done, you can go and test the connection. Okay. So once the connection is successful, then you can easily copy your data from your local system to your cloud system. Okay. Now it says the connection is successful. Okay. But sometimes what happens is it gives you an error where it says that the data is not accessible, or or there's some error with the, I would say, file sharing access. Okay, so for that you need to run few commands. So the command is basically, if you open your command prompt, okay, you need to open the command prompt using the admin access. Okay, and then move to the location where your integration runtime is installed. It is basically installed in C program files, Microsoft Integration Runtime, and go to the folder shared. Okay. Now inside a shared folder, you need to run the following command. Okay. Using this, it helps you to basically access the file system using the ADF. Okay. So if you get some error, then you need to run this command, and then the error will be resolved. Okay. Once our error is resolved and we are able to connect successfully, we'll go and create the link service. Okay. Once my link service is created, I will go and create a pipeline. So in the pipeline, I will rename it as p underscore local underscore ADLS. And over here, I will have my copy activity. Okay. So discussed in the previous videos, in the copy activity, we need to specify the source and sync. Okay. So in the source part, we will specify the source data set. Okay. So we'll go and create the source data set, which will point to our existing link service. So currently, my source data set is having CSV file. So I will just select the CSV file option. Okay. And in the link service, I will select the link service that I've already created. Okay. So over here, we need to specify the file path. Okay. So the file path is basically my folder structure. Okay. Stock daily price is my directory, and I will put a star over here so that it fetches all the CSV files. So I have put as star.csv to fetch all the CSV files. Okay. Else, if it doesn't allow you to add it, so we will keep it blank as of now, and then click on OK once. Okay. So now once we have clicked OK, we have created the data set. Now what happens is I want to specify the what all files I need to copy. Okay. So I want all the files, if I want all the files present in that particular folder. Okay. So if my folder is having around 60 CSV files, so if I want all the files, then I can specify the list of files option over here. Okay. Or I can specify the wildcard file path. Okay. So in the wildcard file path, I can specify star.csv, which means all the CSV file will be fetched. Okay. Or if I want to specify a particular single file, okay, then I can click on file path in data set. Okay. But in my data set, I have not specified any file name. Okay. I have only specified the folder name and no file name is specified. Okay. So if you want to access only single file, then you can specify the single file name over here and click on file path in data set. Okay. But I want all the files, so I will go with the wildcard file path. Okay. and I will do as star.csv. Okay. So my source is set up. Then I will go to the sync option. In the sync option, I want to basically save it inside I would say data lake storage. Okay. So I will go and create a data lake storage data set. Okay. A CSV type. And over here, the link service is already created. So I want to save it inside my demo container. Okay. And let's give it a file name as stock folder, directory as stock folder. And let's keep the file name as blank. Okay. Because I don't want to save the file in a single, all the files in a single file name. So I will keep it as blank and it will only point to my demo container stock folder. Okay. So it says the stock folder is not present, which means if it is not present, you can go and create some new folder over here directly. So once I will go to my data lake storage, okay, and I will create that folder. So in container section, I will go and create, sorry, inside the container, I will go and create our folder. Okay, so for creating the new folder, I will be using Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, so inside the Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer, I will expand the storage account, the list of storage account that I'm using. Okay, inside this, we have our blob containers. So currently we are using the demo container. I will open this, and over here I will create a new folder. So let's go and create a new folder. Name is stock folder, and yeah, now our folder is created. Again, go back and click on OK again to try if the will go, and we'll try to create a new data set where we want to go and save the our Azure, our we'll go and create a new data set where we want to go and save our local files. So we'll go and create the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2 data set and the CSV type file format. So let's give it as name as ADLS stock price. And in the link service, let's choose the link service that we have already created. And over here, I will use the folder where I want to save the data. Okay. Let's go and create a data set which will basically help us copying the data from our local files to the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2. So we'll select a CSV file format, and let's use the created link service. So now this link service should point to a folder that we have created. So the stock folder, and inside the stock folder, I'm not specifying any file name as of now. So let's go and click on OK, and this will create the sync source. Okay, so inside the sync source, the file extension should be CSV. Should remain as default and no other changes over here. So we want to copy all the CSV file in our source and put it inside the sync. Okay, so let's go and debug it. Let's see how it copies the data of all the file from my local to the cloud source. Okay, see the progress. Then it has read 60 files and it has written 60 files. Okay, so if I open the Storage Explorer now and if I refresh it, so you can see all the CSV files that were present on my local system have been copied to the cloud store. Okay, cloud ADLS. So this is how we copy the data present in our local system to cloud using our uh, integration runtime. Okay, so yeah, that's what we have discussed. We have discussed about the Azure integration runtime, and we have discussed about self-hosted integration runtime. So that's it about the integration runtime. Please like and share the video if you found it helpful. Thank you.